Insane in the Membrane.
Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane, with your old pal Wilson. And this week I'm joined by the wonderful Jody Kamali. Hello!
Hello, Rich. Pleasure to be on air, mate. Pleasure to be speaking to you.
Yeah, we did it. We got there, mate.
Got it in the end.
Right, mate.
Very last minute.
Very last minute. I appreciate you jumping on last minute, mate. It's been a few things over the last few weeks that have happened, and you're just trying to pull my head out of my arsehole this week to get back. Suddenly I'm like, I need to book some people in.
Well, that's what we're like. We're airy people, aren't we?
Aren't we?
Creative. I mean, admin is not our forte, is it? You know what I mean?
It's not, mate. But it's become such a part of what we do now, isn't it?
Well, it is. Yeah, it is. You have to. Yeah, sometimes when you're doing so much admin, it reminds you of school, doesn't it? I mean, I was really shit at school. I couldn't keep concentrated, But this admin, I have to literally. Well, that's why deadlines are good, aren't they? So
Yeah. What is it? Nothing sounds better than the sound of a deadline whizzing by, or something like that. I think that's the phrase. I wasn't paying attention. So Jody, how you been? You all right? I haven't seen you for ages.
I know, mate. It's been ages. But I've been meaning to get in touch with you, like to get on this. I love what you do, and your laid back style. So I love it. And I thought I don't really do podcasts. I've never really sort of pushed it, but now I want to. And I thought, well, I love Rich. Why not? So how am I doing? I don't know. Obviously it's Edinburgh's just been, so I'm sort of a bit. This September is always a bit of a kind of a weird kind of right. What happens now? At the same time following up all the from your show that you did, trying to get it into venues, get it here, get in there. So it's like a weird transition period, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit sort of anxiously, like you do, like what do I do next? Being probably a bit hard on myself. Do you know what I mean? So It's all that, mate. At the moment, I'm sort of very much in my head working out what to do and how to do it and.
But that's it. It's all part of what we do. Self-flagellation, constant beating yourself up. Even though you look like, because I didn't go to Edinburgh, but I saw everyone posting about it. You look like you had a great time.
Yeah, I did. It was a roller coaster. It wasn't a roller coaster. It was like real ups and downs. I think that the Thursday I cancelled a show to 2 people. I couldn't do it, and I posted it on Facebook, and I shared really how I felt, because I knew that that there were going to be people out there in the same positions throughout the month, and I've got to be honest and real about it and share my disappointment with it, and. So really from there, it was just like more up and down. I had awards people coming many times, which I've never usually get. So I was just all a bit like, whoa, decent reviewers were coming in. People were talking about it a bit in industry, which I've never had so much industry sort of. People said, "You've got buzz." I was like, I didn't think I've got buzz. Oh no, that you've got buzz. I haven't got buzz. I haven't got buzz. I mean, I don't even know what it is. I don't think I have. But I had like some journalists that couldn't come texting me saying I heard great things about the show and all that stuff. But who knows? Yeah, I definitely felt it was a shift for me this year. Definitely, like I felt
seemed like it, mate. It did seem like it, and it's funny. I first became aware of you through your character Terry, the Odd Job Man.
Niche Terry.
Yeah, but you're one of the first people that would seem to be doing that. Like, because this is way back. Now everybody seems to be doing it, and it must be so fucking frustrating when you were doing it. Because I became aware because it was Terry's from the West Country, and because my partner at the time, she was from the West Country, so she was like, "Love this character," and I instantly loved him. And then you were talking, your references was so Bristol, but not just like Bristol down in the high street. It was like over at Bedminster, or you were at Fish Ponds, or wherever you were.
Working class, proper working class era.
And I absolutely loved it. And that now you see everybody's doing it. It must be It must be a bit annoying when everyone's doing it now.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. I mean, when I literally started, basically, if everyone doesn't know, I am from Bristol, as you can tell my accent. And I made this character, Terry. It's based on my sort of working class family. He started off as really an odd job man. And I just posted a video on YouTube. I actually did the character as part of a sort of a fringy show, and I then posted it on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
Actually, it was to do with a sort of friend of a friend, because he wanted to start a sort of what we know as My Build, like My Builder Checker Trade. He wanted to start that up. I mean, he was only a young lad with a couple of quid in his pocket. He didn't have a lot at all. And then he said, "Oh, I liked your character, your builder character. Maybe you can do it as like a real life, like you're for real looking for work." So I just posted these videos in 2007. So it just went, and YouTube posted me on their homepage when it was worldwide. It was just YouTube worldwide, and it just went from there, really. So. But it was a very foreign thing. It's not like it was now. You could do a lot more long form. You could chat for long, and people were just fascinated with hearing what you had to say. But now it's obviously very differently, because it's punchy, 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 punchy.
Yeah.
Clickbaity, big time, manipulative in a way,
It is,
not true to what the video actually is, and we end up watching absolute shite. So I suppose I'm frustrated with that aspect of it, because I used to love doing the long form stuff,
Yeah.
Just chatting casually, patiently, sort of nuances, the looks and, just all the subtext. But now it's got to be boom, 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 boom. And I'm sort of transition with that character. I'm sort of transitioning to that now. And it has made a difference. You can tell the views and the algorithms like it, and they push it more. So that's frustrating. Not that everyone is doing it. I think it's we have to do it. Everyone has to do it now. It's like,
very true. Yeah.
That in one form or another, so, to just get yourself out of your bedroom, it just makes opportunities, that you wouldn't normally get,
Yeah, but it's funny how we're doing, like you say, when I used to watch Terry, the original videos, and he'd like the phrases he'd use and the language and was very Bristol, not even West Country, but very Bristol.
Yeah.
And it certainly educated me. And but now, like you say, you've got. I'm guilty of this. There was someone the other day, and they were showing you how to make whatever food thing it was, and they just took a second too long to do something, and I'm like, just get to it. And I'm like, the whole video is only a minute. Like, what's wrong with me?
Or just switch off after 3.
Yeah.
I was watching like a how to sell events. I'm trying to just learn more about social media, the ins and outs. So I saw this little video about from a design agency, and that they said that if you don't get it in 3 seconds, they'll switch off. You've got to have 3 seconds. And he said over 2 months it had the same video, but just for paid advertising video, but they kept changing the first 3 seconds, and he got that 3 seconds right eventually, and then it made a massive difference in terms of tens of thousands of views. So it's just mad that we can't give more than 3 seconds. If we don't like 3 seconds, that's it. It's brutal. It's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
cruel. So that's why so many people have manipulated this shit, right? We've all done it. We've gone down a rabbit hole, absolute shite.
It is, and it's just that. It's just, basically, if you're plugging anything, you just got to go buy this book, like straight away.
Yeah. Get to the point, man. Oh God, no. Nah, that's frustrating. Going back to that side of things is frustrating.
Because you are a very creative person. I've always admired that about you. Having watched you at gigs, and I can't remember what year it was. It must have been 2018, 19. No, it must be 2018 maybe. And I remember you were emceeing, and we were doing a gig in Edinburgh, and you had a vampire.
Yeah, I just did a vampire routine.
Yeah, vampire routine, and it was the dance with the dance with the
bags,
carrier bag.
The bag, yeah.
People still, whenever your name comes up, they always say the dance with the carrier bag is what.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird. Yeah, it's so weird.
But you're a very creative person, and I love that.
Yeah, I suppose I like to to not be conventional.
Yeah.
And I think that's, apart from Terry the Oddjob Man is my most conventional thing. You know, I have a following. I generate income from it, from doing shows, from merchandises, from doing sort of cameo videos. So that is my sort of everyday. But what I really love is the sort of unconventional stuff, you know, outside of the box, alternative. And
Yeah.
but that's probably, you know, I think anyone that does really alternative stuff has a battle with that. It's like, oh, it's not mainstream enough to really pack the audiences or this and that, unless it's you know, obviously like Spencer Jones have done really well out of it. But it's far and few between the amount of sort of alt comics have done really well. Like Paul Foot as well is another one that's done well commercially. But I find, that as much as I love being completely barmy and creative and inventive and you know, which the audience that come to see me in Edinburgh always want to see, what's he going to do next? That has been my battle, because like, well, it's not mainstream, and should I be more mainstream? And you know,
I know what you mean.
And that's what I'm partly going through at the moment. You know what I'm going through at the moment. but this show this year was pretty mainstream in a sense that it was storytelling, but basically my life story. So I was telling the story, then breaking into different routines, physicalizing and reenacting moments of my life. So that would be the more alternative stuff. You know, the thoughts that were going in my head were brought to life, you know, physically, because I love being physical. Love it.
Yeah. But I think that's it. It's like you say, when who you are is different to the mainstream, for want of a better phrase. It's difficult to find that balance, isn't it? And and you want to be true to yourself. Also, you know, you've got rent, you've got kids, you've got rent to pay. You've got, so you've got to find that balance, and it's hard. I've seen people that have gone down the very mainstream route, and they're just so unhappy because they're like, I'm having to do this, and no disrespect to anything, you know, to the mainstream route. I'm not saying that, but if you want to do something that's a bit different, it's very difficult, isn't it? And it starts to play on you, and you go, am I just too weird? Am I just odd? Am I just why don't more people get on board with this? Is it too out there? Am I too? What is it? And you start questioning yourself, and then that self-flagellation thing that I mentioned earlier. You go, well, maybe I'm just shit. Like,
yeah, it's about, but that said, I do love it, you know. And when I was doing like a lot of Terror the Oddjob Man for years, like from 2007, and then I just had to stop it after about 4. I just stopped doing it because I got so bored of it, and of being Terror. And I was like, I need to just be creative. I need to do the things that I love, which is doing things a bit outside the box, a bit unconventional. And I think I would always go back to that, because that really keeps me going, makes me interested. It's tough. But I made a kids show this year which did really well commercially.
Oh, well done.
Like really
there you go.
But the amazing thing about it is, like, I can be totally off the wall and barmy and ridiculous, which I am in this show, and is completely acceptable because it's a kids show. You know, reviewers can't sort of put their hand on their chins. I don't really get what he's doing. Like, this is just silly. This is as Steve Bennett once said, it's like a show for 5-year-olds, from an old review.
Right.
from about 10 years ago, Steve said it was a show for 5-year-olds. But you know what I mean? So this is for 5-year-olds, you know, and it's perfectly acceptable. And you know, it is. I've got going to get an agent, a tour agency going to take me on and do a national tour with me next year with the show. So it's just commercially, and it was always meant to be like, a secondary show. Let's see how it goes. Never the thing that I wanted to do, but it just took off. Just took off. And that I'm having a hard time with as well. It's like with apparently Rod Hull. Apparently threw Emu across the room and punched him because he was jealous of Emu, because Rod Hull was I think I heard somewhere in a podcast, but because he was a comedian in his own right, and a very good one apparently, but got really annoyed with Emu because he's like, it's just that's who they want to see, not you, not me.
People. So is that people do have that. It's that I've seen this with where the character becomes its own thing, and then the person who does the character just kind of gets lost, and you can see suddenly they're like, again, like you've just said, they go, I'm not going to do that character anymore I'm bored with it. I've taken it as far as I can. I want to do something else, and I want people to know who the fuck I am. At the end
Yeah,
of the day,
yeah.
it's everyone's getting this character's getting all this praise and things like that, and I'm like, I'm doing all the work. So the character becomes
Yeah.
almost like a real person. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Yeah, that was for me this year. That's what I basically did. I thought I had to talk about myself, be myself,
Yeah.
to show people. Again, I had another short review years later saying, it was a good review, but it's I don't know where Jody Kamali stands. What does he stand for? And I feel like this show really does. You can see the reasoning behind why I perhaps do unconventional stuff.
Yeah. Where did that come from? Where does it come from?
I think it was being many things. Sort of being an only child, a mixed. My dad's from Iran. I'm mum's Bristolian, so I think it was that at the age of just being noticed, and my dad wanted me to be like an academic, in business and economics and an engineer, and I think well, as I discussed in the show, is like the more weirder the shows that I made, the more unlikely anybody would want to. Anyone would want me to manage their accounts. You know what I mean? They think, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. There's no way you can do it. So I think I was sabotaging myself in a way, and sabotaging the fact that I could do anything conventional, like be an accountant or a doctor or a GP, which my dad had hopes for, as do sort of most Middle Eastern Asian families want that for their kids. But I didn't, and it was like self-sabotage in a way. But that's what this is.
Did he find it difficult? Yeah. Did he find it difficult to sort of get his head around it? Because culturally, it's a different thing.
It's taken now, I think, because I'm still doing it and I've survived it, I suppose, through the rough times, that I'm still doing it after all these years, that I think he's sort of given up and like, okay, he's happy what he's doing. I think it's that.
Yeah.
I think it's that. So he sort of got behind me a little bit most recently, but he certainly wasn't there in the beginning. When you're just shit and just don't know what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? You just, so. Whereas my mum has always been supportive from that point of view. She's always been behind me, pushed me to do it.
Well, it's funny. My dad, funnily enough, my mum was more, when I was growing up, get a job, any job, doesn't matter what job you do. And my dad was more, he kind of recognised that there was an arty side to me. And I was always like, I'm going to be in a band, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And he was like, the day you make your first million, I'll be your accountant. And that was my dad. And so he was supportive. Yeah, he kind of got it. Mum, they're all very supportive now. But it's taken until now where I've got this thing on ITVX, and they've gone, right, we recognise this now.
Yeah,
it makes sense, because I'm still like, can I borrow some money? But it's still, but now they recognise what I do, and they recognise why I'm skint.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. I suppose that's what we've got to have to accept, that it has to be that you have to get on at ITVX to be like, okay, you know, because it's got to start from somewhere. Everyone's got to find their voice, be shit, fail, and get, and that's got to be recognised, really. But I suppose, I don't know. I think it's obviously a fear thing, isn't it? They're terrified that it's just not going to work out and what's going to happen. But I think we're all resilient. We'll work out. We'll do something anyway, whether it's not this or something else, that we're just going to be happy and not. They don't need to worry. But yeah, it's a battle. It's a battle, man. I'll tell you that.
Oh God! And how did your mum and dad come to meet each other? One from Iran and one from Bristol. It's quite a mashup, isn't it?
Well, they did. They met in Mecca nightclub. Mecca nightclub.
Actual Mecca.
Yeah, that's a gag in my show, but how I start it off. Really, they really met in Mecca nightclub. Seriously, it's a Mecca nightclub in Bristol, and my dad was working there, and she was just there on a night out, like a 22-year-old woman with her friend, and then they just met. But
Wow.
I recreate it in the show. I sort of have music and I'm just reenacting it all.
Yeah,
It's good
nice.
fun. But yeah, bizarre, just like in a nightclub. My mum said that she just liked Middle Eastern men. She just liked,
Yeah.
which were far few between, to be honest. She's like sort of dark, exotic men. And she
Yeah, yeah.
dated a pilot before, an Iranian pilot.
Oh wow.
So
She's got a type.
it was destined. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
definitely got
yeah.
a type. You know what I mean? These stashed hairy men. You know.
But that's what I mean. My heritage is Greek Cypriot.
Oh, cool.
Somewhere down the line. So that's where
I can
this.
see that,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I've said it a few times on here. Is when I walk into a kebab shop and they chat away to me, and I'm like, I don't know.
Give you a t-shirt and come and work. You know.
Yeah, you're late. You're late.
Amazing.
But if you
No, I
do,
love that though.
yeah, I love that.
I love going into any sort of even Turks, any Middle Eastern establishment. I will have a chat. I just love chatting, saying where I'm from. Middle Eastern taxi. I just love it. I love it. Where are you from? You know, I love all that.
Yeah.
You know, what does your dad do? You know, they get really interested.
Yeah.
And I love it too.
Do you speak the language?
No, I don't speak Farsi. My dad was very lazy. Just didn't. I mean, my parents sort of broke up in a very early age, so
Right, okay.
I wasn't around it. You know what I mean? Wasn't
Yeah.
around the language, and yeah, so I didn't really suppose I didn't really connect with the culture at all when I was younger. My dad was quite secretive. I didn't really say much, share much, and I was like, well, what is going on? Who is this? What is this? You know, who am I? What am I? Am I, you know, what is this? Where is he from? You know, what's it like? You know, so it's, and that sort of carried on from growing up, really, like I sort of working out who I was, what I was, and
wow, man.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's funny. I was talking to Darren Griffiths before on another episode, and my education of the world has come from comedy. I didn't know much about it until I got into comedy, and it's only through comedy that I've met so many people from so many different places in the world. That even that, like knowing that the language is Farsi, I didn't know that before comedy. I had no idea. I didn't know what people spoke. I didn't know it was Mandarin elsewhere. I didn't know it was this. I didn't know it was that. It's all from comedy.
Now,
it's mad,
that's great. We
we
need these voices, people to come in and share their experiences, their stories, man.
Yeah. So with this, so you still got a relationship with your parents, like your dad and?
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah,
definitely. Go on.
But just completely different. Like, you know, just very, very different people. I mean, it's definitely a cultural thing. I've met a lot of half Iranians, half Middle Easterns, half people with really different culture. You're over there, you're over here, are not together. I mean, probably lots are, but I've always meet sort of dual heritage people that their parents are not together. I think it's a bit chalk and cheese aspect of it. So, but yeah, but yeah, very, very different. But I think it's definitely made me a different person. I don't feel entirely British. I don't really. I know people will say I'm Brit, but I don't feel. You know, my wife is Russian as well, so we've got. I've always been attracted.
Yes.
So we're a real mix. Yeah, real melting pot, which I love. I love that sort of aspect of us that we share the same. You know, we get on. I think because of that, because I'm not 100% English. English values. It's very different.
I love that, but that's it. It's what makes things more interesting. And you see these people all the time talking about, like, oh, I'm British. I'm British through and through. And you're like, we're not. No one is. You know, there's something else from somewhere else from inside you, and you know that. But that's absolutely. It makes it so much more of an interesting place if you've got influences from different cultures in your life. I love that. I knew there was a Russian connection with you, and I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, whereabouts in Russia is your wife from?
Moscow.
Right. How did you meet?
We met when I was she was working in Barcelona, and I was traveling in just traveling around, and then I met her in Barcelona.
Wow,
And then
man.
we had a long distance relationship for a few years. I would just go over there. I was literally not doing anything, spending my savings to be there. And eventually she came over. She came over, and and we've been together 11 years in a week's time. It'll be 30th this month.
Oh,
We've been together
mate,
11 years.
congratulations. How does she?
Yeah.
It must be difficult with what's going on at the minute with the
Oh
Middle East
yeah.
conflict. She must be so, because there's people I know that are Russian, but they're not in agreement with what's going on, and they're just like, what do you do? There's nothing that I can't change it, and I can't stop it. It must be hard. It must be frustrating to see that.
Yeah. I mean, when it all kicked off, it was really because we've got my mother-in-law's over there, my sister-in-law's over
Mm,
there, and our other family, like cousins and me. So it is worrying. That it was really worrying. And weird, it was the same time that Iran was kicking off as well. There was
oh
these
wow,
protests.
yeah.
Actually, that's coming up as a year now. With the Masa Amini being killed just for showing a little bit of her hair, So
Mm,
it was all happening at the same time, and like in Iran, my cousins were going there protesting. So there was a lot of worry over there. It was all kicking off. So yeah,
yeah,
it definitely is. It's a different life, because I think we have a tendency over here to what's going on abroad. We tend to just go, let's just switch off the news, or
yeah,
just sign a petition for a couple of weeks and then say how appalled we are and then just carry on, But when you've got you're linked to it firsthand,
yeah,
it's a different kettle of fish. It's like, you're living and breathing it. Like my
yeah.
wife would go, "Oh, my mum's worried because she got a pamphlet through the post." With directions to the nearest nuclear bunker.
Oh my god!
I mean, can you
Wow.
imagine that shit? I mean, this is it. This is what's real,
And we get annoyed.
Um,
We get pamphlets for Dominoes. It's such a different world.
well, yeah, a pamphlet from UKIP or something. Oh,
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at this, look at this. Do you know what I mean? But it's just like all this sort of stuff. Yeah, it just makes it real, and that's our sort of bedtime conversations. It was dominating.
Mm,
Sitting in bed and going, oh yeah, oh my mum's this, oh yeah, my dad's said, this is kicking off in Iran at the moment, and his sister's this and that. So yeah, it's worrying, man. It's worrying. And it's weird, like how people literally, when you say your wife is Russian, or when someone will ask my wife where she's from, like in a park, get a
mm.
conversation, the look on their faces is disgraceful. It's like they're
Oh,
seeing
really?
like a Nazi or something. It's like, it's horrendous. It's like
Yeah.
you're responsible, and like you're a part of it, and it's really really insulting, actually,
Yeah,
at
of
how people
course.
can. And these are like, middle class educated people. um it makes her uneasy, and she feels very ashamed sometimes. Like she feels
Mm,
embarrassed to say, I'm from Russia, but just the look on their faces is hilarious. It's like, all right,
yeah,
calm down, And like when
yeah.
in the beginning I said, where's your wife from? Russia. Oh, she doesn't believe in that. Is she
Ugh.
supporting? It's like, why would she?
Yeah.
What makes you think she would? I mean, she's not delusional.
This is the thing. This is the problem. There's a lot of white middle class people, and I'm generalizing, of course I am, but there's a lot of them, and they cause after problems because they're just the assumptions they make. Oh, your wife's from Russia. Oh, right. So what is she doing about it? What is she saying? Well, it's like, she's not doing anything. She doesn't agree with
She's
it.
not.
She can't
And she's not a
change it.
politician. Yeah.
No, exactly. And you're now patronizing her and making her feel bad just because the country where she's at is in conflict with somewhere else. That's not her fault, but that's
Yeah.
what people
It's
do
not her
all the time.
beliefs. Yeah, it's not her beliefs
Yeah,
either. Yeah.
it
Yeah,
must be
man.
hard, man.
It's Yes, it is. It is. And her best sister is really struggling work wise. She was working for Yandex, which is the Russian Google, by the way.
Right, right, right.
Huge company, and they had like big taxi, like the equivalent of Uber, the equivalent
Mm,
of Just Eat. She's basically been downgraded, and it's just because of the company's not doing well, and she eventually left. It's just, yeah, it's turmoil. She's really
mm.
unhappy. There's not many jobs around. The money's not good. Yeah, it's tough, man. Really
This
tough.
is it when you're just the person on the ground just trying to make ends meet, and it's the generals on the hill that are the ones causing all the problems, the ones kicking off of each other. And yeah, when I first saw the conflict on the news, and I saw there was a photo of people that had been killed in the street, and they were just dressed like us, which I know
Yeah.
sounds stupid, but you know what I mean. Suddenly, I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, there was a picture of a hand and with nail varnish on, and I was like, oh my god!
Yeah.
Last week she was getting her nails done, and now she's
Yeah.
lying
Yeah.
dead in the
Walking
street.
innocent.
And all she was, it's not even her fault. It's not even her fault. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like you say with your sister-in-law and your wife, and they're not involved. It's not their fault. It's just they're just trying to deal with it.
But so
Oh,
many people over there are just, they do believe in Putin. There's a lot
yeah,
of propaganda, the news, and like even my wife said my father-in-law passed away a fair few years ago, but she said he would have probably been behind him.
wow,
It's because he was sucked into whole that
yeah,
Russia greatness and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, it's yeah. I still it's so hard to judge it from an outside point of
mm,
view when you're in it, and because you think about it emotionally.
yeah,
And we do worry, like when the Wagner was going to, they were literally they were heading to, the Wagner army were heading to Moscow to try and take over.
yeah,
Literally, it was really scary. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law literally got a train out of Moscow, literally packed up and got the
wow,
hell out because they thought it was going to be warfare in Moscow.
yeah,
That was really, really scary.
wow. So
But
this is the thing. Well, when I did some gigs for the troops. We went to Afghanistan, and you didn't really think about it. You were kind of going, "Oh, it's a war that's going on." I'm just going to go and do whatever I'm doing. And then it wasn't until we went to Kabul and you're looking over the wall from where we were staying, and you see kids playing football in the street and people going about their day and buying groceries, and they're like, fuck. Imagine if this was where we lived and you're going out to get milk and there's tanks and soldiers walking up and down. You're like, that only happens in movies.
yeah, yeah,
That's like
yeah,
outside your front door. That
yeah. It's mad.
completely blew my mind. And that whole thing of who's bad, who are the bad guys, who are the good guys. Oh, we must be the good guys. And then you go,
Yeah,
no, we're not, are we? Just,
yeah, 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 yeah.
actually, we're in their garden, and we're in the way. Really blew my mind and made me really reevaluate everything.
Wow.
But at least you've got each other to talk to, and that's the point of this podcast. Is that is underlining the fact that having communications with loved ones is so important. And it sounds like you
Yeah.
have. Sounds like you say, your bedtime chats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in depth conversations at night. Not the usual, not the
No.
usual stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I've never been outspoken. I'm not
No.
very prolific on social media about how I feel about stuff publicly on Twitter. I just don't know. I just don't do it. Maybe one day I'll do it, but I doubt so very much. And there's this half Iranian girl. She's got, it's very a protester, an activist, and she constantly wants me to be outspoken, get involved, make videos. Probably like an amazing job that Omid Jalili's doing at the moment,
Mm.
raising awareness of what's happening in Iran. But I've just been I've sort of shy away from it all. I don't know. I find it a little bit uncomfortable just to set. I don't know. I find it uneasy. And she occasionally texts me, say, "Come, we're going to Trafalgar Square. We hook up? We can make some videos." And I'm like, activist videos. I just shy away from it. I shy
Yeah.
away from it. I don't know. And I feel bad in that respect that I should have a voice, I suppose, and speak up about it. But I don't know at the moment. I'm not going down that route. I feel nervous telling because I just don't want. Yeah,
It's just
I don't. I feel a bit uneasy.
it's what comes after. Once you start on this path, it does open up a whole. You're welcoming people in and then you're going to end up getting into debate. I found this online. I found this with many things
Yeah,
where I've been a bit pissed and I've gobbed off on Twitter and I end up in an argument with someone and I've ended up. Oh, I've had it. I remember it was when the pandemic was happening and I was annoyed at Boris Johnson and I just said, I'm struggling to give a shit about him being ill. And a few people DM'd me and went, mate, that's a bit strong. I went, I
Yeah.
suppose it is another person, isn't it? Regardless of whatever they've done or whatever they're doing, it's still it's a bit strong to say, I don't give a shit that they're ill. So, yeah, I get
I
it.
suppose it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want. Yeah, I just don't want. I don't know. I suppose I get terrified of what people may think. Oh, he's like that. He thinks this, and that's his views on things, and I don't like it. And I suppose a lot of people just do it and don't care. But I'd never been one to do that. I don't know. I think Twitter. I go in. I share my what I'm doing, mainly gigs and things like that. I have a little browse, mainly what it's a place where I find all the Russia news, usually what's going on in Russia. So I find the best place to find out. Just do a few searches, a few soldiers on the line that report. What's happening. But I just don't get involved in it. I don't.
No.
I find it very stressful. Like social media, sharing all the time. I find it depletes me.
Yeah.
From real life. Imagine that having to sort of, I'm feeding my kids and I've got to hang on, and kids, I've got to go and I've got to reply to that twat that's just, replied to me on Twitter about my opinion I had on XYZ. That must, I imagine what people do. They must just literally in the moment stop what they're doing, get on the bloody Twitter and start just getting aggressive and then putting it down again. And it must happen. I mean, people's mental health and what the real world is, and it's not for me in that respect.
No, I know what you mean. I'm getting better with it now. Where I'm like, I just post your stuff and then walk away. You don't have to get involved. You don't have to spend an afternoon dealing with shit. Post it, walk off. And then later on, if you've got a minute, you can flick through, see who said anything. My wife, Kate, she gets really upset because she sees all the back and forth of everybody, and she's like, she's such a sensitive soul, where she's just like, I just want everyone just to get along. Why are we all shouting at each other? And she gets really upset and talking about posting stuff, and she's like, oh, I've got to post that thing, but I'm worried I look like this and like that. I'm like, you've just got to just post your stuff and just walk away from it. And that's all you have to do. Don't get involved, especially if you're sensitive. I'm more, I suppose, because I've been doing it longer because of the podcast. So I'm a bit more robust towards it. I'm a bit more, it doesn't affect me like it used to. Whereas if someone said something horrible, it'd ruin my week.
Yeah. Sometimes I get it with my character Terry, the Odd Job Man, but I know it's not me. So there'll be an occasional troll or be abusive, but it doesn't bother me because it's just they're being abusive to it. They think it is a person that's real. They believe Terry. A lot of people believe Terry's real.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. And by the way, I've never revealed myself ever. I've never said on there that my name is Jody Kamali. This is who I really am. Although I'm tempted to. I've been tempted to for a while just to see how people would react. But
take the cap off. And yeah.
Well, I just thought being really posh. I just want to do is set up in a sort of kitchen diner and just like I'm who I really am, like this posh Oxbridge guy, and I play my name just to because some people say this guy's not really from Bristol. Sometimes they don't believe it, and but then I know too much. It's like I know the details.
Yes.
I knew it's the detail, the finer details, which I was like, well, no. So 99% of people think I'm real, and so any trolls I get, it doesn't bother me because it's like they're trolling a characteristic of this character that I don't emotionally identify with. So it's like it doesn't bother me. Or I just come back with a witty comment and and sometimes they abuse me direct message and then I say, mate, I'm not real, and just send them my real profile to make them and they just shut up, because
you should do that. Maybe you should do it with the high vis and the cap on a mannequin, like just behind with a light on it like Batman's suit.
Well, I'm tempted to do it. I'm really tempted to do it just to see the reaction I get, from how people. One guy did find out years ago. I don't know. He must have Googled and found me, and then was aggressive. He said, "You're a fraud. How you bastard. You're a fraud. You've been cheating, and and then." and then I wrote back to him and said, mate, I'm sorry. I'm a comedian, actor. That's what I do. Sorry about that. But I am born. Everything I say is true.
Yeah.
But I'm just being someone else. And then he wrote back, oh, sorry, mate. It's just like finding out Santa's not real. You know?
Oh,
So,
oh no. He was just heartbroken that he wasn't going to
yeah.
bump into Terry.
Yeah. I had it recently. Another woman's like, I can't believe you're not real. I thought you were real. I was like, I'm sorry. So sorry.
But that's just testament to your talent and that people believe it. And I did because like you say, it's the nuances and it's the niche references. And there was one, you were outside a parade of shops in wherever it was in Bristol, like an area, like it wasn't even Bedminster, it was like something smaller than that. And
Yeah.
I'm just around the corner in blah blah blah, and you were talking about the shops or something, and you're like,
Because that's what
yeah,
I bring it. That's what I love about that character. I'm bringing something to them. Like you know, I do live shows practically every year, and I go to community centres and do it, like in the heart of these. Some are really rough areas. Like some of it is like just 70 quid to hire, you know. And they're like, you want to do what? You want to do what? There's all cobwebs, and I want to be here. You know, they've got the stage, got a stage. It's, you know, I bring lights in, I bring a stage manager in, and we do it there, and they love it. It gives a certain realness that like it's shabby, it's really shit, but it gives it just a realness to it that you're bringing it to these people. You're bringing comedy that they can really identify with on an emotional level.
Yeah.
That to them, not like a fancy art center gig.
No.
It's like this is to them. This is comedy bringing it to them. That's what I love, and that's where it belongs. I tried to do it years ago, bring it onto the circuit, but it just didn't have the same magic. It just didn't really work for me. But I just kept. That's why I didn't even really bring it into my Jody Kamali world at all. It just It belongs there. It belongs in Bristol, Terry.
I know what you mean. And when you do those gigs in those places, they're so appreciative. At the end of the night, initially they might give you a bit of stick, and there's a bit of like, what's all this? Who do you think you are coming here? And then by the end of it, you've won them over, and they're like, oh, that was a great night. I really enjoyed that. Thanks for coming. And they appreciate the effort you've made.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, sometimes, they're, especially my the Terry fans, as I call them, they are, they just sometimes they don't have a lot. Sometimes they don't have etiquette. They're just getting up, going to the toilet mid show, and not, getting the drinks in. And it's like, no, you have to try to educate them a bit about going to shows, because they probably don't go to many shows, like comedy shows. With you sit down and you just listen and laugh, enjoy yourself, and then have a piss and a drink in the interval. So, but now I get all kinds of people. It's hilarious. So I've been attracting sort of hipster, because I used to predominantly attract very working class people, but now it's sort of hipsters are coming, really old posh, sort of pink trousers, and middle class types, like, oh, hello Terry, can I have a selfie? It's like, I respect it. I really respect it. I love it. I love that all manner of people are now coming, different, because I was like, no, this has got to be for working class people. This character's for them. They are not getting the comedy that relates to them. They're not getting the comedy, and but it's changed now. It's like, it's for anybody. It's anybody, come enjoy it.
Yeah, that's brilliant, mate. I love it. I love the character. I love what you do. What I love is that you are, like I said earlier, you are a very creative person. And one of the things that really shone through when we were doing the lockdowns, and you put the gig on in your garden, and we all came and did that in amongst your flower beds. But it was all carefully done. It was all, we were all socially distanced, and it wasn't like, there was enough people there. It was all like, right, the toilet's there, but do wear your mask and do this and do that. And it was so carefully coordinated. And it was one of the highlights of that time. It was such a nice day that reminded us that there is still community. People are still here with each other, because there was a danger that we were all kind of getting locked away in our own bullshit. And it was wonderful. It was a real turning point, I felt, you know?
Yeah, it was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
It was, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it
And
was, yeah.
just seeing people as well, like they're seeing you, you're seeing them, are seeing live entertainment again. And I think it highlighted the fact that we do need live. Live is so important because it was like, oh, everything's going to go online. Look how well everything online is working. It's just going to be, the future is online gigs. No, it ain't. It ain't, mate. Absolutely not. But that garden gig was legendary. And I mean, it was the local church lent me the chairs. I had chairs and 30 chairs. Okay, so that's why it was all lovely. And there you were headlining on the deck-in.
One of the best gigs of my life.
But it was strange. It was so strange. It was like people were so nervous. The audiences, they were really nervous with each other. And like you said there, everyone was spaced out. I literally had going around in my garden with a tape measure, Everyone was like 2 meters apart,
That's it. Yeah. And it was great.
In pairs.
And we had to make sure we had to make sure, obviously, he didn't go on too late because of the other people in the surrounding houses that hadn't come to the gig. And it was such a nice moment. And it's every now and then, whenever I think about the lockdown and things like that, that's one of the highlights. It genuinely was that gig where we hadn't seen each other for a while. We were hanging out like we used to, It was a nice kind of like, yeah, man. Because I remember someone saying to me, "Oh, we need the stage and we need the attention," and it suddenly made me realize that I don't need the attention and I don't need the stage. But what I do is I enjoy entertaining people, and I enjoy hanging out with decent folks.
Connecting. It's what I see of you, Rich. You're a connector. I can see when you
mate.
You're MC. That's your MC. So you connect with people. That's what makes you so special as an MC. You really connect with people. They see something in you and they connect with you.
Thanks,
I think that's
mate.
what. Yeah,
I think that's it. Especially when you're MCing, I've said this before. When I'm MCing, it's not me. When I'm MCing, I'm one with the people. It's like, we are going to have a good night. We are going to have a great time.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great? I really enjoyed that. Did you enjoy that? Oh my God, let's get on another comic. We can enjoy them as well. And it's a lot of we and us. And it's that is what I need. That is the connection. And again, that's why we do this podcast, because we get so many messages from people that just go, "Oh, I just needed to hear that. I needed to hear someone else say these things because I'm worried that I'm getting lost, or I'm worried that I don't know how to ask these questions about race and sexuality and all these things." And that's why we do this. And that's why it's important to have people like you, Jody, coming on and having these wonderfully open chats. And it's been great. I've really enjoyed this. So
really cool, man.
So you're going to be going on tour with your show. You're going to be taking it out there and doing things.
That'll be in a year. Everything's a year, so it's like an art center tour. So that's been they're going to be booking that for me at the moment. That's for my kids' show in a year's time, literally a year now, because it's going to go in. But
brilliant.
But yeah, I'll be doing the show I did in Edinburgh and a few places as well around, and going to Bristol with it on the 28th of November, I think that is, on the Thursday. So that's going to be really special. Probably some of my family will be there as well, Bristol family. So like a homecoming gig. Yeah, man. Yeah, just who knows? Yeah, what's going to happen next? That's where as I said at the beginning, that's where I'm at. Deciding what's next. What's the next stage?
So there's always that's the thing. I think it's important that we're always looking. It doesn't, like, you do a show and it's a great show. And as you said, you've had a bit of buzz and some rave reviews, as I saw online, and you're like, all right, what's next? There's always a what's next. What can we do next? What can we improve on? And I think that's what keeps it. That's why I love what we do, because there's always another. Let's do something else. What else can we do? And I love that. Where can we find you on the socials?
Well, Jody Kamali. I'm sort of Instagram more, mainly Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, Jody Kamali. I think it's at Jody -Kamali hyphen. The most easy. Yeah, it's the hyphens in there. So and Facebook as well.
Lovely. It's been a joy. Thank you so much, Jody. I'm glad we did this, mate. I knew it was going to be lovely.
Cheers, mate.
Nice one. So this has been Insane in the Membrane. This has been Jody Kamali. I've been Rich Wilson, and we'll see you next time.